Britain once celebrated Christmas under candlelight, rationing electricity and stretching every penny as inflation soared to 24%. Yet for many, those 1970s holidays now feel more authentic than ever, a season defined by scarcity, unity, and handwritten rituals that have nearly vanished today. If Christmas is supposed to bring us together, what did families back then truly know that we have lost? The real answer begins with a single, stark winter. Inflation in Britain reached 24% by 1975, pushing household budgets to the breaking point. The price of everyday essentials climbed steadily through the decade. Bread, butter, and even Christmas turkeys cost more with each passing year. For millions, pay packets lost value almost as quickly as they were earned. The government's response was blunt. In January 1974, the three-day week began, restricting commercial electricity use to just 3 consecutive days to conserve coal during the miners' strike. Factories and shops went dark, and homes braced for routine power cuts. Prime Minister Edward Heath warned the country of a harder Christmas than we have known since the war. Ordinary families felt the strain in every corner of their lives. Electric heaters fell silent and coal fires became the only source of warmth for many. Candles and torches replaced light bulbs in the evenings. Cooking Christmas dinner became an exercise in improvisation. Turkeys roasted unevenly on camping stoves, and meals were often rescheduled to dodge the next blackout. Even the simple act of shopping grew unpredictable. Petrol shortages and picket lines meant fewer trips to the high street, and many shops operated on reduced hours, if they opened at all. The threat of empty shelves was real, especially in the run-up to the holidays. Households adapted with a kind of forced thrift. Blankets were piled high for warmth, and families gathered in a single room to conserve heat. Gifts became more practical: knitted jumpers, battery-powered toys, or whatever could be bought with a year's worth of saved Green Shield stamps. Children learned to hope for what was possible, not what was advertised. The state's emergency measures shaped every part of the festive season, turning what should have been a time of plenty into a lesson in resourcefulness. In these conditions, thrift was not a virtue, but a necessity, and every small indulgence, an extra tin of quality street, a real tree, a warm meal, took on the weight of a minor victory against the cold and the dark. Christmas in Britain in the 1970s unfolded through rituals shaped as much by necessity as by tradition. The weeks before December brought a flurry of handwritten cards, each one carefully addressed and posted well in advance to beat postal delays or the threat of strikes. Every home had a drawer of last year's stamps and ribbons, pressed flat for reuse. Children were called to the table to help, licking envelopes, counting out Green Shield stamp books, and stringing together paper chains from leftover wallpaper or colored magazine pages. The anticipation was built not by abundance, but by the slow accumulation of small, deliberate acts. Gift-giving was a matter of planning rather than impulse. Throughout the year, families collected Green Shield stamps from grocery shops and petrol stations, pasting them into booklets with the promise of a Christmas treat. A full book might be traded in for a toaster, a set of towels, or for the lucky, a battery-powered toy. Oral histories recall the quiet pride of mothers counting out stamp books at the kitchen table, weighing the household's needs against each child's wish. The act of saving became a family effort, a lesson in patience and hope. Decorations, too, spoke of thrift and creativity. Homemade paper chains hung from picture rails, their colors softened by age. Blue Peter's Christmas episodes inspired a wave of yogurt pot angels and tinsel crowns crafted with whatever was on hand. Each year, the same ornaments reappeared: fragile baubles faded from decades of use, and treetop stars fashioned from cardboard and tin foil. Real trees were the norm, brought home only a week before Christmas to preserve their needles, filling small rooms with the sharp scent of pine. Fairy lights, often unreliable, were tested and coaxed back to life, their glow a minor triumph against the gloom of winter evenings. Food preparations began weeks ahead. Stir-Up Sunday in late November saw families gather to mix Christmas pudding, each member taking a turn and making a wish. Coins were folded into the batter for luck. The menu itself was simple but cherished. Roast turkey, if it could be found, Brussels sprouts, roast potatoes, and a pudding dense with fruit. Every leftover was saved, destined for bubble and squeak on Boxing Day. In these rituals, constraint became a source of meaning, each gesture, no matter how small, woven into the memory of a real British Christmas. On Christmas Day in the 1970s in Britain, the nation's rhythms aligned around a single broadcast schedule. By early afternoon, families gathered in front rooms, eyes fixed on the television set as the Queen's speech aired precisely at 3 p.m. This annual address was more than a formality. It was the one moment when nearly half the country paused, together, forks set down, conversation hushed. Audience figures from the era confirm the scale. 25 to 28 million viewers tuned in each year, making it one of the most watched events in British television history. The day's programming was mapped out in the pages of the Radio Times, studied and annotated in advance. Morning began with carols and children's favourites, cartoons, puppets, and the familiar faces of Basil Brush or Bagpuss. As the afternoon unfolded, variety specials and circus performances bridged generations, offering a shared language of laughter and spectacle. The anticipation built towards the evening's flagship comedies. Morecambe and Wise, at their peak in 1977, drew a record 28.5 million viewers, an audience unmatched before or since. Streets emptied, pubs closed early, and families crowded together, knowing that everyone else was watching the same jokes at the same moment. With only 3 channels, the choices were limited, but this scarcity forged a kind of unity. There were no recordings, no streaming, and no second chances. If you missed a show, it was gone. The structure of the schedule shaped the day itself, dictating meal times and family rituals. For a few hours, the boundaries between households blurred, replaced by a sense of belonging to something larger. The shared schedule was not just a convenience, it was the backbone of a national ritual, binding millions into a single audience. In Britain today, Christmas unfolds across a landscape shaped by digital choice and commercial reach. Phones and tablets light up living rooms from early December, each screen tuned to a different world. The average Briton now spends more than 8 hours a day on screens during the holiday week, according to Ofcom's latest figures, a figure that would have been unthinkable in the 1970s, when television itself was a shared event rather than a personal escape. Streaming services offer endless options, but the old national schedule has vanished. There is no longer a single moment when millions pause together for the Queen's speech or a comedy special. Instead, families scatter across platforms and devices, each curating their own celebration. Sociologists argue this digital abundance has come at a cost. Professor David Hesmondhalgh points to the loss of what he calls scarcity-driven rituals. In his view, the meaning of Christmas was once forged by limits, the anticipation built by waiting, the weight of events that happened only once. Dr. Tracy Skelton's research shows that family co-viewing rates have fallen below 40%, with most households now experiencing Christmas as a series of parallel activities rather than a collective pause. The decline in handwritten cards is even starker. Royal Mail and Ofcom data confirm an 80% drop since the 1980s, replaced by e-cards and social media greetings that arrive instantly but rarely linger. Yet economists and media scholars offer a different reading. Professor Jeanette Steemers argues that digital choice has made Christmas more inclusive, allowing families to blend old and new traditions and to connect across distances. Dr. Tom Nicol notes that holiday happiness scores have remained stable, even as rituals fragment. For younger generations, the freedom to define Christmas on their own terms is not a loss, but a gain. The debate remains unsettled, but the evidence is clear. The shared rhythms that once shaped the holiday have given way to a patchwork of individual moments, stitched together by technology and choice. Today, the average Briton spends over 7 hours a day on screens, even at Christmas, while handwritten rituals fade. As nostalgia surges, the fight is not to return, but to reclaim presence. What we choose to share now will become tomorrow's memory. What tradition will you keep alive?